Ladies and gentlemen, we have a good one for you here today. We have with us a video game entrepreneur who's figured out how to grow the game in bars worldwide. Some of my earliest memories in taverns involve his voice, and that's in no way traumatic. He also made the most famous tackle in Royal St. George's history. That's not a football club, for those of you wondering. He's a member of the Screen Actors Guild. Any way you look at it, he owns a major golf championship. He won 7 PGA Tour championships, was a member of the Ryder Cup team. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us the lead member of Jake Trout and the Flounders. It's our good friend and golf's great ambassador, Mr. Peter Jacobsen.
Hey, guys, boy, that's quite an intro, Mark. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Peter. And we're looking at your shirt right now, and you've got the golf party there. How did that logo come about? That's really good. It looks great.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Huey Lewis and I, we played in the AT&T so many years together, and we had so much fun, as you know, when we played together a couple of years ago together. We were kind of lamenting the fact that the AT&T format was changed. Now it's one of those money grabs on tour, one of those signature events. And there's no longer celebrities. There's very few amateurs. So Huey and I said, let's get together and try to recreate that. So we're doing that actually this week here at Monterey Peninsula Country Club. And I didn't know what to call it. We had no idea. So I started messing around with thoughts about playing in really high winds in our career at Monterey Peninsula, on the peninsula. So I thought, well, let's mess around with the bent flag, with the flagstick bent over 90 degrees. And I wrote the golf party underneath it. And my daughter, who works for me, she's kind of the executive director of this thing. She said, I like it. Let's go with it. So it looks like something a 9-year-old would do. And that basically kind of tells you my graphic design skills, a 9-year-old.
Well, you make up for it everywhere else. I'm looking at the lineup here for the golf party, and as most people who follow golf know, you're one of golf's great ambassadors, and you've hosted more than a few events in your day, and you know how to throw a party. But Darius Rucker, Jake Owen, Dustin Lynch, Ben Rector, who played in that group with us at Pebble and AT&T. You just go down the list. You've got Parker McLaughlin, the short game chef. And there's a name that interested me that I mean, we may have to check his birth certificate on this. Joel Damon. How did he find his way in the lineup?
Well, Joel is a very good friend with Ben. After we played with Ben, he played in the AT&T with Joel. And I had asked Joel if he would come play the next 2 days as Ben's partner, and he jumped at the chance. So, yep, Joel, he's a youngster, kind of like you guys, but he's coming to join our golf party just to have a few laughs.
Amazing. And what's the purpose of the party, Peter? What does it benefit?
We are raising money we call it a party with a purpose, simply because we're raising money for charity. We're raising money for the Monterey Peninsula Foundation, of which you're both very familiar with, and the First Tee, and a foundation that I started about 4 years ago called the Golf Diversity Program. What we do is we do seminars at HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. And what we do is we try to educate a lot of the kids that might not have a chance to get on the PGA Tour, but they love the game of golf. So we open their eyes, and we look at the vast opportunities in the world of golf to work. Becoming the next Tiger Woods or Annika or Nancy Lopez, that is a really narrow path to walk. But for anybody to be able to work in the corporate world of golf or the administrative aspect of golf, PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, PGA of America, those opportunities are huge. So that's what we do there. So those are the three foundation we're raising money for.
fantastic cause. It's really special, and reminds me, Ryan has a foundation as well that kind of ties in, and he says often that whether you make it to the PGA Tour, whether you go on to play college golf or not, just doesn't matter. But it's about a greater mission and a greater purpose.
Well, I look at myself, as you mentioned, I played at the highest level. I was fortunate enough to win some PGA Tour events and Champions Tour events, but I love golf like you guys love golf. And I'm not competing anymore. I'm doing some television, which in my way is a way of staying connected and staying involved and having fun, but doing corporate events, doing speaking engagements, and giving back, doing things for charities, basically trying to inspire the next generation through golf. That's really what our goal is just to help those that don't have a chance to play as much golf as we did growing up, to be able to help with that access to the game of golf and try to make this world a better place through golf.
How long, what's the long-term goal, Peter? Is to grow this event as like a new form of the AT&T? Is that the long-term goal?
I think so, Ryan. I don't know at this point, because we're right here during the week of the Pure Insurance Championship, which benefits the First Tee. As you know, there's First Tee professionals playing with a junior, First Tee junior, and 2 amateurs. So we reflect that format. We've got a pro and a celebrity and 2 amateurs. And if we fit right here on Tuesday and Wednesday of the Pure Insurance Championship, and that's where we stay, I'm very happy about that. It's small. It's at Monterey Peninsula Country Club, which you both know very well. And it's a special place. Just being here on the peninsula, having a chance to look at the Pacific Ocean every day while we're hitting shots, and smelling the ocean air, and just being with friends and enjoying the game of golf and enjoying each other's company. If it stays this size, fine. But if it grows, that even better.
Peter, switching gears, you touched on, I think, your views a little bit by calling it a money grab, but let's just talk specifically about the AT&T. It used to be like an event that's obviously near and dear to your heart, your first and last PGA Tour event, and now is a signature event, either on the AT&T level or the total signature event format. What's your thoughts of where the tour has gone, Peter?
It's interesting, when Live Golf came around, the PGA Tour, I think, blinked first, and then they started worrying about the players leaving to go to Live, and that's a valid concern. I would never criticize anybody for being afraid of that. But I also believe in the organization, the PGA Tour. I believe if I had been in charge, I would have said, look, any player that wants to go to Live, I'll pay for the Uber. Just go. Just take the money and leave. Because we have a very strong organization that was started and founded by players like Nicklaus and Palmer back in the 68, 69. And the PGA Tour, excuse me, has only gotten bigger, better, and stronger through the participation of players over the years. Let's not forget, players come and players go. Remember when Arnold and Jack and Gary Player and Trevino were the players at the time, and then it became Faldo, and it became Watson, and it became Norman, and then Tiger, and players move through the PGA Tour and their career because of age, AGE, something that we all benefit from. And I think that the most important thing is to put faith in your organization and put faith in the game. I've always said that the PGA Tour is not about the players. The PGA Tour is about the communities where we play and the charities we support. Because whether it's a tournament in LA or Tucson or Dallas or Miami, those tournaments thrive based on the success of the community and the community support, not any one individual player. You can make the argument that Jack playing here or Tiger playing there or Norman playing there is going to dramatically impact the gate and the success of the event. Yeah, I would agree with that, but not to the level that I think a lot of people think it is. And in particularly here, the AT&T has done an incredible job here over the years. And I think it was the most important tournament in professional golf, not just to this local Monterey Peninsula area, but I think it was the most important event to the PGA Tour. Not a major, not the Masters, not the US Open, nothing like that. But as an individual tournament, it was an opportunity for Peter Jacobsen and Mark Baldwin and Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas to be able to play within the ropes for 5 or 6 hours with the corporate CEO or executive vice president of marketing of a corporate group that might title sponsor an event later on in the year. So what a great opportunity for us to tell the story of us and our organization to those that are investing 10, 12, 15 million dollars. So when the AT&T decided to move from that format, I think the tournament lost a lot. It was a decision made by AT&T, and again, would never criticize what they want to do corporately and with the event. But I just lament the fact that we don't have that event anymore, and I miss that event.
And that ties in, Peter, really closely with a couple of things that I want to get back to and talk about. But Michael Bamberger's new book, The Playing Lesson, A Duffer's Year Among the Pros, he talks about Arnold Palmer and you and your history at the clam bake at Pebble, what it means to you, and how you were taught early on. And look, this is a Monday Q podcast, so Monday Q also ties into this story. But how you were taught early on, the most important connection that you can make is with potential sponsors, customers, players in pro-ams. And the most important relationship that the PGA Tour has is that with their partners and with their sponsorship. So can you take us back to 42 years and tell us, what is the history and the inception of your relationship and connection to Monterey and the clam bake?
Well, I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I grew up in a big family. We had 4 kids and mom and dad, and everybody loved golf. We all played golf, and we would drive down here to this Monterey Peninsula area. We would rent a house every spring break. We'd jump in the station wagon, and we would, there were no seatbelts, no car seats. We would be flying around the car, driving down I-5, and we would play together as a family. So I had an early love affair here in Monterey Peninsula. My first PGA Tour event, you mentioned earlier, Monday qualified at Old Del Monte and played the AT&T, which back then was the Crosby Clam Bake. And I just dreamed about having a chance to become a tour player, to get my card and play on tour, which that was my first event. And as you mentioned also, that was my last event when we played together, just kind of capping actually six decades of PGA Tour tournaments, which is kind of a silly thing, but kind of it's right here on my shirt. It's a badge of courage here. But real funny story is when I Monday qualified at Old Del Monte, I ran over to play a few holes at Monterey Peninsula before the sun set because I was now going to play in a PGA Tour event. I ran out and played a few holes on the backside. I cut across because the sun was setting, and I hit a few tee shots on 16, and all of a sudden around the corner, as I'm just hitting tee shots, kind of reveling in my success, who I thought I was, and around the corner comes Arnold Palmer, and he had a group, and I thought, holy crap, I just cut in front of Arnold Palmer, who was my dad's favorite player, my favorite player. He was the king at the time, still is. And if there was ever, I learned a great lesson. If there was ever a time that somebody could big time you, it was right then. Here's Arnold Palmer. I'm standing off to the side. I've got my name on my bag, brand new tour bag. And he walks right up to me and he sticks his hand out and he says, "Hi, I'm Arnold Palmer. Can we join you?" Now, that blew me away. He could have said, "Hey, I don't know who you are, Rook. Step aside, get out of our way. Don't you realize cutting in front of somebody is a no-no, blah, 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 blah. He brought me in, made me feel like I was a part of his world. And we played the last 3 holes. We talked like friends. I was 22. He was 40 something. And we got done on 18. He shook my hand. He gave me a sleeve of new Arnold Palmer signature golf balls, which I never used. I still have. I wasn't going to hit those golf balls and potentially lose them. But that taught me a great lesson. Every time I was with Arnold, and I was fortunate enough to be with him a lot, he never met a stranger. Everybody that he met, he always greeted them warmly. He always had a kind word, and he listened. That's the one thing we don't do anymore in this world, is listen to other people's opinions. Everybody has opinions. Everybody's different. I'm going to give you the respect of listening to your viewpoint, and then hopefully you'll listen to my viewpoint. But Arnold was that way. I was with him so many times in exhibitions and pro-ams where people would come up to him and want to tell the story of how Arnold met that person's father and gave an autograph. And it was a 5-minute interaction, but it meant so much to that person's father. Why? Because Arnold was warm. He was kind. And it costs nothing to be kind. Kindness costs us nothing. You got to work at being an a-hole. You got to work at that. And I know a lot of people that work really hard at being that too. But so that really started my love affair of this area, Monterey Peninsula, and Arnold Palmer and people.
Yeah, what a incredible experience. And I feel like that's what really stands out to me, that I was so fortunate. By the way, thank you for including me in the list of Jordan Spieth, Peter Jacobsen, Justin Thomas. Like, that's the only time I'll ever find myself in that list. But that's what really stands out to me when I think back on our time together at Pebble and Spyglass and Monterey, was just your warmth and kindness and acceptance, and what an incredible experience that was within the group. And really, it just revolved all around your personality and you involving everyone and making everyone feel so special. And what you said to me early on was, look, you're going to have your wins. You know, I had mine at the 2013 Dakota's Tour Olive Grove Championship. You've had many, but when you're not in contention on the weekend, when you're not playing for those most important moments in your career, you have an obligation to the other people of the game, to the amateurs around you, to, you know, the kids, people trying to come up. That's the most important part of being a professional golfer.
The one thing that you both have done with your podcast and your website is you've accepted the responsibility of interacting with people and delivering information and connections to the game. That's a huge responsibility, and I know you don't take that lightly. That's the one thing that anytime I played in a pro-am, I could be the worst player, the least known player there. I could be in an outing with Arnold and Jack and Trevino and Player and Irwin and Watson and et cetera, et cetera. And on the pecking order, I am last. But when I'm out in that group with those 4 amateurs, I represent the PGA Tour. It is my responsibility to give them the best day of golf and the best experience they've ever had, because I am right then representing the game of golf. PGA Tour, the game of golf, PGA of America. I represent both of you like you represent me when you're out playing golf. And I think that's what makes the game of golf so strong. The people within the game wanting to do the right thing for the communities, as I mentioned earlier, and the charities, because it doesn't matter. Look, Mark, you hit it 100 yards by me. We all witnessed that. And I was blown away with your length. I was blown away with your ability. I was so impressed with how skilled you were. And that differentiates you from me in our game. I was obviously 80 years older than you at the time when we played, maybe 85 years. But that doesn't mean that the way you play and the way I play and the way that Huey Lewis plays and the way that Ben Rector, Jack Lemmon, Clint Eastwood, anybody plays makes us any different. We all love the game, and that makes us the same.
Peter, I assume like a lot of your connections, Edward Lohr, Kyle Thompson are a couple of people that work for people they, after their golf career was over, they now work for people they played with in pro-ams, and have both said like it wouldn't be possible if I didn't treat pro-ams like, you know, the importance they are. I assume going back to your event, this happened pretty quickly. I assume there's a lot of people that you have met in pro-ams and throughout the golf time that have made you putting an entire 2-day event together in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Well, Ryan, the wonderful thing about the PGA Tour is that people think Saturday is the most important day, the moving day, or Sunday, payday. The most important day is Wednesday, the Pro-Am day, because that's our only chance to interact with people inside the ropes. And I've met so many people. I'm 71 years old now, and I've learned from people like Jack and Arnold and Gary Player to pay attention to the people we play with. So as a result, when we put this thing together, Huey and I and our connections, we just started calling our celebrity friends and our amateur friends. And we were selling pro-am spots. We were arranging with our connections at Monterey Peninsula Country Club to put this together. And I think people recognize that this is the right thing to do. This is the right direction in the game of golf. We can't stray from connecting with people. PGA Tour players are great. We all know that. We're all professional players, but we're not better than anybody else. We need to connect, and we need to grow this game from the ground up. And it takes all of us to be able to do that.
Peter, the fact that you spend so much time speaking about others and what they've meant to you, and how really just giving so much credit to other people says a lot about you. And it's so different from many of the people we have on the pod, many of the people in the game. I'm wondering, obviously Jack, Arnold, you know, people that you've mentioned were mentors to you. Were there any mentors to you that, you know, you don't speak as much about or aren't as notable, who really took you under their wing? It could be at an early age, could be at any point during your career, who really taught you something valuable?
Well, as you both know, you learn with every interaction. You learn how to act, and you also learn how not to act. That's the one thing about being in society, being with people, and being on the golf course, is you learn a lot of things about the way you want to go and the way you don't want to go. I was so fortunate growing up in Portland, Oregon, had a great, tremendous mom and dad, and they taught us the morals and values of life and of the game of golf. And there were professionals along the way, people like Jack Doss and Mike Davis, who actually is my brother-in-law now, Tim Berg, gosh, I could go on and on, that took me under their wing and helped me. And I never forgot that, because as we said earlier, golf's a game to share. And I always hear the stories of Ben Hogan. I met Ben Hogan a couple times at the Colonial. I was fortunate enough to win there. And this was before Ben Hogan passed away, and had a chance to interact with him and get to know him. And I heard all these stories that Ben Hogan never shared his knowledge with other players. I never experienced that. He was always kind and warm. But I do know that players like Jack and Gary Player and Arnold Palmer and Lee Trevino, another one. Lee Trevino was a huge influence on me when I got on tour. Always willing to help, always willing to give you a tip. If you had a question or you had a concern, he would always say, hey, let me know if I can help. So I'm very bullish on my fellow PGA Tour players, not only today, but over my career, because we were one family. We were all supporting each other. Did we want to beat each other's brains out? Yeah, we always did. I got into playoffs. Payne Stewart was one of my very close friends, but I beat him in a playoff at the Colonial one year. Other players that beat me, we still remained friends because we both had that shared goal of competition and of victory. But I just think we learn from people along the way. If you're paying attention, if you're not paying attention, then I feel bad for you.
Was Payne a member of Jack Trout and the Flounders?
Jake Trout and the Flounders. Yes, he was. Payne Stewart, Mark Lai, and I, we were the only people on the tour that I know of that didn't fish or hunt or do outdoor sports. We liked music. I played guitar. John Inman was a piano player. Larry Rinker was a guitar player. Mark Lai was a guitar player. And Payne played harmonica. He played the harp. And as our pal Huey Lewis would say, he was about a 15 handicapper on harmonica. But it didn't matter because we loved music. And we started a band. We rewrote famous artist songs with golf lyrics. And we performed. We performed with those artists, people like Huey and Bruce Hornsby and Darius Rucker and Stephen Stills, Glenn Fry, Alice Cooper. They actually sang with us on the record and performed with us whatever we were in their town. So we didn't have to be any good because we weren't pros. We weren't any good, but we all loved music and we loved performing, and we could laugh at ourselves too.
Peter, I don't know if Mark has another question, but before he ends, I just want to thank you for being part of the greatest week in my golf life. Like, that week was on the bag for Mark, a great friend and wonderful human, and you, Fluff, Ben, Huey. I tell those stories every podcast. I tell them, and I just want to thank you. It was making it an amazing, special, the greatest week in my golf life. That's all there is to it. So I don't know if Mark has anything, but you are a huge part of what is the greatest memory of my golf life. So thank you, and good luck with you.
Yeah, no, I'll second that, Peter. That is my being with you at Pebble Beach is my favorite golf memory, and actually is really inspiring. And I watched what you said about my golf game in that little show that revolved around that week, where you said, I believe Mark Baldwin can win golf championships. And I use that as fuel and inspiration. And it when I don't feel like going to practice, it motivates me. So thank you so much for all of that, Peter.
Well, let me turn into a TV announcer and break down your game right now. Number one, the one thing you can't teach is length. That you can work out, you can get in the gym, as a lot of players do today. I never did that. It was not part of our daily routine when we were coming up. When I started the tour in '77, we didn't get in the pool, we didn't lift weights, we just played. We swung the golf club with rhythm. That's all we worried about. We worried about putting the ball in the fairway and try to hit as many fairways as possible and as many greens. As you both know, that's totally changed today. All the teachers now teach speed and distance. So it's totally different from what I grew up with. But when we played and I watched you and I analyzed your game, I think the fundamentals of your golf swing are ideal. They're perfect. I couldn't find anything wrong. And again, because I do more and more TV, maybe I'm a little bit more of an analyst and a critic, maybe not a critic. I'm not going to be critical like that, but I want to see what's wrong with your grip or your stance. I wanted to know why Mark Baldwin wasn't on the PGA Tour and wasn't winning tournaments, which I still think you can do. But back to what I said, you can't teach length, number one. Number two, you also can't teach accuracy. And you were an incredibly accurate driver when we played. Combine it with that length, you become John Daly. John Daly, who or a young Tiger Woods, or somebody like a Dustin Johnson, if I had been your coach, I would have said, all right, let's figure out where we're going from the fairway turn point to the green through the hole. And let's make the weakest part of your game the strongest. What I did, but this is before ShotLink, I wanted to analyze my game from the tee all the way through the hole. And I kept very detailed statistics. It's all now done on ShotLink and on computer, but this is back when I played the tour. That's when dinosaurs roamed the earth and rocks fell from the sky. That's how old I am.
That's when you had to pay for your own golf balls on the PGA Tour when you go to the driving range.
People think I'm joking about that, but it's true. Fluff and I used to tuck $3 or $4 in our pants, and we used to have to give the range guy some balls, money for the balls. And if you didn't hit them all, you didn't leave them. You put them in your bag. So Fluff always encouraged me to hit them all because he said, Peter, I'm not going to lug these balls around for 18 holes, which he would drop them out of the bag as we played. He'd throw them into the bushes. But I lost where I was. Where was I? Help me.
Well,
I'm 71 years old. Oh, the statistics. I kept the statistics because I wanted to know how many fairways I hit. More importantly, how many I missed. Did I miss them left or right off the tee? Did I miss greens? Was I short, long, left, or right? Because then that basically gives you a snapshot of what's wrong with your game. If you're short a lot with your approach irons, well, you think you're longer than you really are. That means you have to club up one more. Or if you're too far left, that means maybe your clubs are too upright. The lie on your club is too upright. So there were things that I did that made me a better player by me analyzing what I did. And back to your game, I just think that you're a wonderful player and you've got so much talent. I hope you keep chasing that dream of getting your card.
Peter, I said I wasn't going to say anything else, but I'm just going to play that clip for Mark at each stage of Q School. He's going to Q School again in a couple of weeks. So we're just going to play that clip before each round heading out.
Mark, you can do this. I've played with a lot of players in my career. Very few had your talent. Now, again, talent is talent. It can be unrealized talent or it can be realized talent. Right now, yours is unrealized talent. But all you got to do is flip that switch, start looking at where you're dropping shots. A lot of young players that I see, whether I'm doing PGA Tour events and I'm on the range, Champions Tour events, they don't care what I say because we're the same age. But a lot of the young guys will say, boy, where do you think I could play better? Where can I help myself? I always tell them, look, it's not how many birdies you make, it's how many bogeys you don't make. And to be able to understand about the bogeys you don't make, you have to analyze where you're losing shots. If Mark Baldwin hits 13 out of 18 greens on an average, that's really good. That's great ball striking. That's what you should do. But you're missing 5 greens. What are you doing with those 5 greens? They can be flop shots over bunkers. They can be bunker shots. They can be pitch and runs. How close are you hitting those shots, number one? And then number two, are you making the putts? You remember players like, and again, I played with these guys, Tiger and Phil and Seve. Seve was my age. We were good friends. We played a lot. They would hit these crazy, wild approach shots and then chip the ball like this. That's a talent. That's a skill, but that's also the will to get the ball up and down. There are players I know that give up. They miss a green. They go, I suck. I'm done. I got no chance to get this up and down. That's part of the equation as well. I've always said, and when I got to be a better player, I looked at every bad shot as an opportunity to make a great save. And I would say that to Fluff. I would say it to any of my caddies. I would say, look, I know I hit that 4-iron on the toe and I'm short of the green, but watch this. I'm going to chip this in. Whether I have to hit a high flop or a little low runner, I'm gonna chip it in. And that motivated me to be better on recovery. And once I started recovering better, my scores got better and I got closer to winning and then I won.
And there are some things in the game, Peter, that won't ever change at the highest competitive level. That being one. Obviously, when you went to the Masters your first time, you went and shagged your own balls, I think,
Yes.
alongside Magnolia Lane, right? There's a lot that's changed, but that's something that won't change. And how can players work on that? I mean, I know when you won your it was 2004 when you won your US Senior Open, and you had just come off of hip surgery, and the will to excel and to do something really special when the odds are against you, or when you're up against the wall. Like, how can up and coming players work on that? What advice do you give them to find those, in some cases intangibles, or the will that is so required?
I think the will to win is a balance between wanting to show off and not wanting to embarrass yourself, if that makes sense, because those are the two extremes, and you need to find where you are in the middle. And Mark, the two things I've always said is the most important thing is when I have a tough shot, whether it's a nervous tee shot on the last hole or a 5-footer to make the cut, I always step back, and I learned early on to say to myself, I choose to be here. You choose to go to the tour school coming up, right? So make the best of it. Why are you going to go to the tour school and berate yourself and think you can't? If you think you can't, get your money back and don't go. But if you're going to the tour school, you believe in yourself and know that you choose to do this. And so you might as well be successful. All you need is one spot. I don't know how many there are. When I came through the Q school, there were 19 spots, and I tied for like 12th with 7 guys, which was 19. And I got my card. Doesn't matter how, Tiger always said, it doesn't matter how you win. It just matters that you win. So I always stepped back from a really difficult situation and said, you know what? And I always smiled to myself. I said, I choose to do this because I love this. I'm having so much fun. I could go home, buy a 7-Eleven and sell Slurpees the rest of my life, but I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And that's what I want you to say. Every shot, every time you feel pressure, I want you to say to yourself, I want to do this. I want to be here. And I'm good enough to do this. And you are. I'm telling you, you are.
Peter, that's a great way to wrap it up. I'm conscious of your time. And when I think back on our time together, the memory that really stands out is what you're talking about here, which is you choose to do this, and it's really fun. And that memory is when you and Ben Rector picked up guitars on the 14th tee at Spyglass on a beautiful sunny morning, and you played some blues, and Ben played a little, I think it was a D walk down on the guitar, improvising a song for Steve Young, who had just lost the closest to the pin on the previous hole. And it's all about enjoying the experience and reminding yourself that this is what you choose to do. This is what you've prepared for, and making the most of that experience. And you embody that, Peter, in every way. And I could talk to you for hours about this, but thank you so much for your time today, and your kindness, and all your encouragement and your inspiration.
Well, Mark, thank you. I remember that. I remember when Ben and I grabbed those guitars.
Oh, the best.
It was so much fun, but you're right. Whatever we choose to do in life, you might as well make the best of it. Enjoy it 100%. If you don't like it, then go find something else to do. That's the great thing about this country. We have free will. We can do whatever we want to do, but please keep me posted on your progress. I really want you to get your card. You deserve to be out there, because you can run circles around a lot of players that I played with in my career that got their card and won tournaments. You can win tournaments out there. So great to talk with you, and good luck, and keep me posted.
Will do. Thank you, Jake. Have a great time at the golf party. Say hi to Ben for me.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.